Hey designers, happy Wednesday. It's Dr. Shantae Bishop, CEO of Design Her Label, and this week's brandcast is all about sharing the number one secret to growing your business. I know that sounds kind of gimmicky and ominous, but I can honestly tell you that as I have grown Design Her Label, this is one of the things that people don't tell you up front. People come out with all of these programs, and you hear these marketing and sales pitches that they can accelerate your business and that they can explode your results, and that you can be a six-figure sister in just 6 months. But what they don't tell you is what I'm going to tell you in this brandcast. The number one secret to growing your business is all about building relationships. So right now, if you read entrepreneurial magazines, if you read and look at some of the influencers, that you see around Twitter and on social media, there is a lot of emphasis on building and growing your subscriber list because there's a saying, the money is in the list. The money is in the list. The more subscribers you have, then the more eyes you have on your product or on your service, and the more visibility that you'll have. And that's fine. That is true. However, when the market is growing increasingly saturated and everybody's trying to grow a list and people are kind of getting fatigued with, signing up and subscribing to certain email lists and things like that, and it becomes bombarded and your product is starting to get buried underneath, a whole bunch of other email clutter. The real key is shifting that emphasis from building the subscriber list to actually building relationships, because having subscribers does not always mean you're going to have a paying customer. You might just have somebody that's on your list that will never invest in you. Having someone that is a subscriber doesn't necessarily mean that that person is a qualified lead. And by a qualified lead, meaning this is someone who fits the target profile for your ideal customer. This may be somebody who just heard about you on a whim and decided to sign up one day, or maybe they liked your freebie and just wanted to sign up and get your freebie. And so having subscribers, while that's important, it doesn't necessarily guarantee or equal paying customers, and it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to have qualified leads, that you have a qualified pool of people that are ready to open up their wallet and actually invest in your business. So I would say that the key is not necessarily having people on your list. I would say that the key is having access to your ideal client. The key is having access to your ideal customer, because as your list grows, there is no way for you to really guarantee that everyone on that subscriber list is your ideal client, or that everyone on that subscriber list is your ideal customer. So you want to make sure that you have a scenario such that when you do get out in front of a group of people, or that when you do offer what you have to sell or offer what you are passionate about to a group of people, that those people are tailor made, that they are perfect for hearing what you have to say, perfect for being willing and right to invest in what you have to offer, perfect for opening up their wallets, running back to the sales table, and buying 10 of everything that you're selling. You want to make sure that you have access to your ideal client or your ideal customer. And one of the ways to do that is to redirect your focus from building your list to building relationships. Because, see, here's the thing about relationships. A lot of people on their road to success, a couple of broadcasts ago, I said that, you can't copy and paste someone's success story because you can't copy and paste the relationships that people have developed and cultivated over time. So, for example, I'm married to a professional photographer. He's extremely gifted and he's very successful. And I'm not saying that because he's my husband. I'm saying that because if you go to finallyfocus.com, finallyfocus.com, and look at his work, you will say, wow, it looks incredible. And he does all of the image work for my brand. Now, that type of work at that level of quality comes at a premium that I don't have to pay. And so while other people might have to invest thousands of dollars in video work, thousands of dollars in image work, I don't have to invest any of that. That's not an expense that I have to concern myself with. Why? Because I have a relationship, albeit a special relationship, with someone who can do that for me. So the thing is that when you're talking about growing your business, when you're talking about having access to, your client and making sure that you're presenting yourself to your client in the best possible way, that's not always going to come through your subscriber list, but it can absolutely come through relationships with people who have access to networks that you need to have access to. So, one of the things that relationships are key to is getting booked at conferences. So, for the month of March, I am going to three different conferences and I'm speaking at two of them. And those speaking opportunities came via relationships that I had established with people that I had connected with either at a previous conference or people that I had worked with in the past. And it was really not about, using people for their connections, because I want to be very clear. This is not what I'm advocating. This is not what I'm pushing. The relationship should be genuine. Okay. When a relationship is genuine and a relationship is valuable, that means that there is a mutual exchange of value. It's not a one-sided relationship where somebody comes taking, and expecting the other person to be giving. That is not a relationship. At least it's not a healthy relationship. What I'm talking about is having genuine interest in someone, genuine interest in either helping them grow and flourish, and in return, they can help you grow and flourish, or taking a genuine interest in something that someone else is passionate about, or something that someone else has written about, and expressing, your support for their endeavors. Those are some of the ways to build relationships, and they can lead to things like getting booked at conferences. They can lead to you being featured at live events. They can lead to you having exposure to the media, and they can lead to some very lucrative collaborations. And so all of these things may not necessarily come through your subscriber list, but as I've been saying, they can absolutely come through relationships. Despite all of the social media marketing strategies, despite everything that you see on Facebook and Instagram and having a website for this and a website for that, word of mouth endorsements are very powerful, especially when the quality of the work speaks for itself. So, for example, I cannot tell you how many times I have rolled up on a woman and said, "I love your hair. Who does it?" And when she tells me who her stylist is, or people have come up to me and asked me the exact same question, "I love your hair. Who does it?" The people that usually do hairstylists, they don't have websites. They don't have Facebook fan pages. They don't have subscriber lists and, email marketing campaigns. They don't have any of that. What they have is a word of mouth endorsement from a satisfied customer. So despite all that we have at our fingertips to use to grow and build our businesses in the digital age, you really cannot underestimate the power of word of mouth. And so when you have a relationship with someone, especially someone who is well connected, then what you have the benefit of is that person's word of mouth endorsement of your skill set and your ability and your character and your professionalism and the quality of your work. And so word of mouth endorsements, don't sleep on it. It's old school, but it is still very effective. So relationship building gives you access to networks that you might not otherwise have access to. The thing is that, when you think about the media, people in the media that work for magazines and television, producers, they get pitched to all the time, bombarded with emails. "I want to be on your show. I want to be on your show. Can I be in your magazine? Oh, I have a great story for you." Or, "What do you think about this?" Because they're trying to get that exposure and they get bombarded. But in the midst of all of that clutter, that email clutter, all of a sudden the phone rings, someone they know saying, "You know what? I have a story I think you ought to run. I spoke to this young lady, or I spoke to this couple, or I spoke to, this little kid, who's an aspiring entrepreneur, and I think it would be perfect." That cuts through all of the email clutter. That cuts through all of the digital noise, and it's just a person to person referral, and it's someone giving access to you that you previously did not have access to. So you're getting access to media channels, you're getting access to your target audience or your ideal client or your ideal customer. So not only are these relationships valuable, but these relationships also need to be strategic. So here are some strategies on how to build your relationships. Look at LinkedIn. I can't tell you how many opportunities have come through LinkedIn. You never know who is looking at your profile. Well, actually, you do, because LinkedIn will show you who's looking at your profile. But there are ways to get around that. And the thing is the question is, what drove them to your profile? What is it that they heard about you? What is it that they saw somewhere? What is it from whatever you are doing that drove them to take a look at you on LinkedIn? And I've gotten invitations from LinkedIn, and through accepting those invitations have gotten tremendous opportunities to go and be a guest teacher in other countries, for speaking engagements, for all sorts of things. And so you never know who's going to be looking at your brand or your business. So one of the ways to build those relationships is through LinkedIn. Take a look at where you want to be. So if you want to be on a television show, then go on LinkedIn and find out who's working on that television show. Find out who the stage manager is. Find out who the producers are. Build and cultivate relationships. Get into the room with them and see if you can shake hands, attend a show or attend a taping. Never underestimate the value of actually getting out from behind your computer, getting inside of a room, making eye to eye contact with somebody and making a favorable impression, making yourself memorable. Another way to build relationships is to spotlight influencers. So if there are people that you really admire, your audience might need to know about them. They might have something of value that needs to be shared with people that follow you. And so you can spotlight them and say, here's a really great broadcast from such and such. Actually, I'm flattered. Somebody did that for me this week. Out of the blue, somebody said, I just heard a really great brandcast from Design Her Label about being signature. You can't pay for that kind of publicity. When you give value, your audience will thank you for it and they will share it with other people. And as a result, I got several followers and subscribers just from that endorsement. And so when you spotlight other influencers, then you get their attention. When you tag them in post, you get their attention and they see that you are speaking favorably about them, then it's an opportunity to start building a relationship. Another thing to consider is to invest. So a lot of times, celebrities, athletes, people that are trying to build and grow their brand beyond their profession, they have charity events. They have causes that they are passionate about and they need volunteers and they want people to get involved. So you can invest your time. You can invest, money. You can subscribe to their publication. I will never forget, I was at an entrepreneurial event last year, and one of the people stepped up to the microphone to speak to a magazine editor and basically said, how can I be in your magazine? And the first question that the magazine editor asked her was, are you a subscriber? And she was like, no. And see, that was a valuable lesson right there, because what I took away from that is you want to be in my magazine and you're not even invested in the magazine. And so you want to make sure that when you approach people building relationships, it's not always with this, hey, I got my hand out, how can I be down? But you also have to look at what are you giving or what have you given or what are you willing to give, in order to make this a mutual exchange of value. So some keys to building relationships is even if you get into the room, even if you start shaking hands, and rubbing elbows with people, always, always, always follow up. How many times have you been at an event or a conference or a panel discussion or a workshop and you meet some people and you guys exchange cards and you say, yeah, we ought to connect, and it never happens? You can look at those cards right now and they're piled up with dust sitting on them, or maybe you were cleaning out your purse one day and you threw them in the garbage and you're like, I'm probably not going to call. But see, that's where people mess up, because you never know who people are connected to. You never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. My first conference that I ran last year, Lakeside and Laptops, I filled that conference through follow-ups, people that I had met at an event, and I sent individual personal emails saying, hello, it was nice to meet you. I really enjoyed what you had to say about such and such. If there's any way that I can be of help or service or assistance to you, please let me know. I extended myself. I started to build that relationship, and over the next couple of months, next thing I know, everybody that I had reached out to actually came and showed up to my conference and brought a friend. So always, always follow up. Another key is always offer before you ask. This is one of the rookie mistakes that entrepreneurs make, or one of the rookie mistakes that people who are trying to build their personal brand make, is that they come knocking on the door with their hand out asking, instead of asking the question, how can I give? I always say you have to be willing to serve your way to success. Or some people will say you have to serve your way to sales. But you should, when you're building a relationship, say, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What are your goals for this year? And is there anything that I can do to support that? Out of a genuine interest to help and to serve. Not, necessarily with an ulterior motive, but think about how is it that this relationship can be cultivated so that you guys can mutually exchange value. And this is what I mean when I say begin with the end in mind, because what you don't want to do, you don't want to waste people's time, and you don't want to sweat and harass them, but find out what it is that you can genuinely offer to them that would build and grow their business or help build and grow their program. And even though they may not necessarily be your ideal client, they may be able to provide access to your ideal client, or access to a key contact that can put you front and center with your ideal client. So these three points, following up, offering before you ask, and beginning with the end in mind, are just some strategic ways to really cultivate that relationship so that you don't come across as someone who is disingenuous, or someone who has an ulterior motive, or someone who is self-seeking. Because I'm a firm believer, the gifts that you have are to serve other people. The gifts that you have are not for you to hoard and keep to yourself and, try to build the empire of ME. No, you have to be willing to serve, okay? Your gifts are to cultivate others. I always have heard that, true leaders, great leaders, don't have lots of followers. Real leaders and true leaders create more leaders. And so how can you use these relationships to create more leaders? How can you use these relationships to serve more people? And I think that when you operate from that mindset, when you operate from those intentions, then the doors of success kind of swing wide open, because people know that you're being genuine. They know that you have something of value to bring to the table, and they don't mind putting their name on the line to endorse you because you've already proven yourself. So I want to close with this. Be ready to give value. Because here's the thing, I often say, a lot of time we spend so much time worrying about the no, we're not ready for the yes. And so if a producer from a television show, or a producer from a news station or network calls you, what are you ready to give? What are you ready to talk about? What do you want to go on the show and say? We just kind of picture ourselves sitting there with the glam squad, lights, camera, action. But what questions are the host asking us? What are we saying to the audience? What is going to be memorable about our being in front of the camera? What value are you giving to the show? What value are you giving to the audience? So always be ready to give value. You should also be ready to serve, because as I said, when you come knocking on the door and you're not giving anything, and you're trying to take without that relationship being reciprocal, then that can really hinder your ability to build those solid relationships. And last but certainly not least, you have to be ready to return the favor. And so when you come, asking and serving, and somebody needs you to help them, later down the road, you have to be willing to do that. Otherwise, again, as I said, word of mouth is very powerful. So it can be very powerful to your favor, and it can also be very powerful to your detriment. And people may not necessarily say these things to your face. People may not necessarily, send you a letter or express their displeasure, up front or in writing. But you can best believe that when people ask about you, they will tell them exactly how they felt working with you. And that is going to either be a positive experience or it's going to be a negative experience. So don't give just to get, but be ready to return the favor. Be ready to help those that have helped you so that it is a mutual exchange of value. So, as always, if you enjoyed this post, please do share it. Encourage your peeps to subscribe to designherlabel.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those platforms are growing, and I'm so grateful for your support. And, this is my commitment to give value. When you tune in every week or every couple of weeks, this is my way of giving to you. It doesn't cost you anything to listen, but I appreciate what you guys invest in terms of your time, your energy, and, your own selves, taking time to invest in how you can grow your business, your platform, and serve other people. And so this is my commitment to providing the kind of content that will help you do that. March is going to be a busy month, but I am still committed to posting these every single week. So wish me the best. I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.